Hey everyone, welcome back to the Loopy Studio, and today I'm here to talk about Outer Banks Season 4 Part 2. Just dropped a couple of days ago, and yeah, so there will be spoilers ahead, so if you have not watched the season, you need to before watching this video, because I'll be talking about spoilers all the way through from the top. So basically, my overall thoughts, it was okay. There were parts I liked, there were parts I didn't like. It was definitely a lot weaker than Part 1. I liked part one a lot because it felt like we were kind of getting back to the roots of the show. And then part two really jumped the shark in a lot of ways, while I still enjoyed it more than season three, but not by much. Like, it's definitely, this was one of the weaker chunks of the show. Specifically, the last three episodes in particular were not great episodes for sure. Mostly just because of the unrealism of everything. In the stupid decisions that these characters made. It just got ridiculous for me. But basically, episode 6 starts off with this whole backstory thing, and I did not care about the JJ's father plot twist. I didn't think it was necessary. It was just stupid to me. Like, the fact that they could have had a very meaningful storyline with JJ and Luke, and they decided to go a different route and just totally make Luke irredeemable, and then have this Chandler guy brought in. It was just a poor writing choice, in my opinion, from the writers. We get this whole backstory. Basically, Luke is working for Chandler, and he abused Larissa, and then Larissa and Luke fall in love. Or no, well, they fall in love in quotations. They didn't actually get together, and then Chandler drowned Larissa and said that the baby drowned, but Luke kept the baby, and then Chandler ran away. I mean, I again, didn't really care. I mean, I know it was important to the story, but I just wish they went a simpler route with this whole plot line and made it I would have even been fine if they were just competing against another group searching for this crown. The fact that they added in Chandler and Lightner and just too many villains to keep track of, it was just all so messy, and I just could not follow. But there's all that, and then JJ and Cleo, or John B and Cleo, get Pope and Sarah out of the church, and then they go back, and it's kind of jarring. We immediately cut to them and at the town council meeting, and honestly, I really like the town council meeting. Like, this was probably, overall, this was the best episode of the 5. Just it felt like pure Outer Banks, like peak of the show, in my opinion. Just that whole town council scene, and then even and here's the thing, JJ made a lot of stupid mistakes both in part 1 and part 2, but I kind of liked it when his whole breakdown and banging everything up and destroying everything, and I thought Rudy did a great job at portraying all the emotions, and and in that way, I guess I could kind of buy the whole father being lied to by his own father thing, and I get that, but I just wish his father lied to him about something else that was not about not being his father, and then I would still buy that. It just, I liked that whole sequence. I didn't like how it originated, though. But I mean, again, that's basically the episode. It's mostly a JJ episode spiraling after this whole reveal about his father. And then Pope also tackles the cop and gets arrested. So it was just, I love how JJ just got away, and then Pope did one thing and got arrested. It's just the it's just, the unrealism of it is crazy. But I thought when JJ said, "I have a right to fight for what's mine," was a great moment. Again, I thought his acting was really good in this episode. Again, and this whole episode I thought was very much peak Outer Banks. And then of course we have Rafe and Chandler, and Rafe officially signs the papers to invest in Go Island, which of course is going to backfire for him. And then episode 6 ends with JJ showing up at Groff's door. Episode 7 immediately picks back up where Lightner and his crew, they come and they attack Chandler, so Chandler and JJ have to escape, and they're basically they're kidnapped for the entire episode. Now, here's an issue I have with the season, is that it has this Dahlia girl suddenly be the main villain of this crew, where they built Lightner up so much in part 1 to be this villain, And I had an issue with that. Like, okay, and he was like, and then he just was barely in part two. Like, it was Dahlia making all these decisions. Also, I hated this crew. Like, the actors were awful. The writing was bad. It was just not like, and I don't know. It just and there was no like personal connections either. I mean, of course Chandler, but like Chandler was also against this crew. To me, it really felt like they were just copy and pasting the plot with Big John and John B with JJ and Chandler. That was basically how it felt for me because Big John also wasn't liked by the enemy. He was like the middle ground. Same as what Chandler was trying to be, except Chandler is way worse than Big John. But I mean, I just wish they could have like came up with a different plot for JJ rather than another daddy issue. It's a bit exhausting at this point. But we also find out Sarah's pregnant, which I'm not surprised about. I really like the scene where she came out to Kiara, and just the power of friendship between the two of them was really, really cool. Something we don't see often on the show. You know, we see the three boys have this like meaningful friendship, but we don't see the girls have it enough. So I really like the Sarah and Kiara moments in this episode. And then we also have Pope. He has to decide either go to jail or go to the Marines, and he's conflicted this entire episode. And I kind of liked his struggle. I mean, I didn't really like how it ended, but while it was happening, I was fine with it. And then him and Cleo have sweet moments throughout all this, too. We also have Topper continuing to be the worst. And Topper, I don't understand what the point of him was this season. Like, he didn't do anything except just be a dick. Like, all the way through. And his girlfriend's even worse. So I think they were just useless. Like, he added nothing to the plot. Like, and I don't know if it was something to do with the actor, what he did, and you know what I'm talking about. But I don't know. Nor do I really care about the character. I'm just like, what's the point in having him be around? He's just a dick to John B, and then we don't even see him again afterwards in this season. So basically, John B, Sarah, and Kiara go and save JJ from the boat, and then that's kind of how it ends. A funny moment was when John B threw it up through the with the fire and actually caught the boat on fire, and Kiara was so mad at him. That was a funny moment. But no, I thought episode 7 was okay. It was like the second best. Like, not as good as episode 6, but like it was still fine to me. Episode 8 is where my issue started because Chandler just really, like, he turned insane in this episode. You know, he started off showing up, saying he wants to help the Pogues, saying that in order to read the scroll, you need a lens. And Chandler does get the scroll at the end of episode 7. I forgot to mention that. But he says, we need to go to your mom's grave to go get the lens. So they go, and then weirdly, Chandler's trying to frame JJ, saying like he's vandalizing graves here and you need to come get him. And again, just so weird, just so creepy and so weird. And then he just pretty much abandons JJ. He kidnaps Key and puts her in a cooler. And yeah, he goes back, and then they're planning to escape to go find the crown now that they have the lens. And then he goes and kills Hollis because Hollis finds out this whole thing. Apparently he lied to her. I don't really care about the plot line and Hollis as a character, but he murders her. And he's crazy, freaking crazy. And, you know, I thought Lightner was crazy, but Chandler's even crazier. Again, I think they had these villains be too insane, and it just got a bit too extreme for me, all of this. And then Rafe shows up, and he's upset because all of his money got taken away. You know, all of it was stripped away, his $400,000 or whatever. And he wants his money back, so that kind of fuels his whole revenge plot in the next 2 episodes. And then the episode ends with, of course, the group comes, they save JJ again. It's pretty much reminiscent from the season 2 finale, like, and it was kind of like repetitive, like, okay, like, come on, give us a new plot at least. And then Pope and Cleo have the moment of the episode where they have to say goodbye to each other. I really liked that moment. I also liked John B telling Sarah, we're going to get through this together. We always do. That was great. And then the episode end. Well, and then of course, there John B and Sarah try to get their marriage license, and the kooks show up, and Topper's girlfriend's there, and yeah, that was kind of a useless scene, to be honest. Pope runs away, deciding not to do the Marines or jail again. Kind of stupid. I mean, I knew it was going to happen, but the execution was stupid. And then pretty much the episode ends. All the Pogues are together, and they're going to Morocco. That's how episode 8 ends. So it kind of has a happy ending, but I mean, it was just the Chandler. He's just the worst. I cannot stand him. But it was okay. Again, I think the episodes got worse as the season went on. Episode 9 basically is the Pogues, and they're heading to Morocco, but they're on this the sheriff's boat, so they have to get a bigger boat, especially because Morocco is so far away. And one of the issues I had is just like the randomness of like the whole town, or all the Outer Banks just gossiping, and it was just weird to me. I'm like, we haven't seen this before. Maybe we did in season 1 a little bit more, but it became a bit exaggerated this season, just how much these random community members were involved in the plotline. So I wasn't really a fan of that. So basically they escape. Kiara's dad has like a bit of a redemption moment where he stops a cop from shooting at the Pogues, and I mean, I don't really care. I mean, that because the Kiara's parents had such a small role in the season that they didn't do anything for me. You know, I'm kind of surprised with how big of a role they had in season 3 that they just weren't in this season at all. So that was kind of shocking to me. So basically, JJ just shoots at the cop, which was crazy. They escape. Everyone's mad at JJ. There's this conflict between John B and JJ all the way through this. And then Rafe basically comes in and saves them from Shoop once they wash up on this beach. And this whole thing was ridiculous. Like, there's no way a cop would just let these kids go after what JJ did, after what Pope did. It was just no. Like, no. It was so stupid. But he does, because he's the worst cop ever. He lets them go. We see Barry for a brief minute, but barely enough. Haha. I think Barry's funny, but I don't know. He was just in one scene this entire season, and it was kind of random how they threw it in. It's like, oh yeah, we forgot about Barry. Let's just bring him in now. It was just kind of random. So now all the Pogues plus Rafe, they're heading off to Morocco because Rafe also wants to get revenge on Groff for, him and Hollis taking his money. So, I mean, and I kind of was like, okay, they have a common goal to get revenge on Groff. I was buying it. And this part of it, like all the Pogues plus Rafe working together, was surprisingly did a lot for me. And it was like a good plot line to add in. But basically no one trusts Rafe, I mean, Sarah's trying a little bit, but no one's willing to trust Rafe, and that's understandable given everything that's happened. The fact that they're even on this boat with him is crazy. And then we have John B telling JJ that Sarah's pregnant, and JJ says, you're going to be a terrible father. This episode was not JJ's finest moment, for sure. And sure, I understand he's upset, he's going through things with his father, but it was just very irritating how rude he was being to everyone. And then the storm comes, and I mean, the storm was pretty intense, and it definitely reminded me a lot of the season 1 finale. It gave me some callbacks there. Basically, Kiara saves Rafe at the last minute. Sarah falls out of the boat. JJ goes after her. Kind of weird it wasn't John B, but okay. JJ and Sarah get washed away, and then everyone thinks they died, but then they randomly, of course, show up at the end. John B and says brothers for life. That was a sweet ending. I like that ending, honestly. It was just kind of unrealistic. There's no way they would have survived that. There was lightning and everything. So that was kind of stupid, but episode 10 was the worst. Might be, now I don't know if this was worse than the season 3 finale, but it was pretty bad. Basically, the finale is they arrive in Morocco. Sarah's not doing well. They leave Rafe really quickly, which means Rafe is on his own. Rafe comes across Chandler. He pushes him into this well. They come across the well later. I'm pretty much just skipping through a plot. It basically leads for them to meet back up with Rafe, though, because Sarah saves Rafe by shooting at the people trying to shoot him. That was a great moment. The Sarah and Rafe stuff was the highlight of this episode, for sure. I loved it a lot. Um, so, and then we have this whole standoff where basically each of these groups are trying to get to the crown. But first, the Pogues come across Chandler in the well, and JJ has to decide, okay, do I save him or not? And he decides not to, and he just throws down a jug of water, kind of showing him mercy a bit. And then Chandler randomly just carves steps with a knife. I'm like, okay, this is getting stupid. Not that it wasn't already stupid, but it was getting more stupid. This episode was just piling stupid and just layers, and it was just ridiculous. I did not like it. But yeah, Chandler just cuts off things and he climbs all the way up, and then we get this huge battle. And we couldn't even see anything because of the sandstorm, but it's just the Pogues versus Dahlia and Lightner's crew, and Cleo gets shot, which wasn't even really addressed. Like I don't even know what happened. I mean, obviously she survived, but they didn't even focus on that. It was such a minor thing. And then Pope shoots Lightner. And again, I wish it was stupid to me how they had Lightner be such a big thing in part one and then barely in part two. It was just a weird choice to me. And then JJ finds the blue crown. Him and Kiara have actually a nice moment where they talk about wishes, but it was like their only nice moment. I'll talk about that in a minute. And then basically they head back with the blue crown to find the others, and then Chandler is about to slit Key's throat, and then he lets her go when JJ gives him the crown, and then Groff stabs JJ and kills him. And yeah, so gosh, I had issues with this, but I'm not as upset as some people are. You know, they upped the stakes, they killed off a main character. My main issue with it comes with that it happened in the last 10 minutes. It felt super rushed. And the fact that it just, the goodbye scene with JJ and Key, it just, like, I don't know. I don't even know if it was the acting or what it was. It just didn't feel right to me. And maybe it was because they barely interacted this season. I mean, part one, they were okay. Part two, the actors were just not interested anymore. Their scenes were so awkward. They kissed once this season. So, I mean, they had a few cute scenes in the finale. I'll give them that. Kind of setting up for it. But, okay, they couldn't have had one last kiss. Like, seriously. That was ridiculous to me. And as a Giara fan, I understand why everyone feels upset. Like, if you're going to kill off the main character, at least give the stands something. Give the fans of the ship something, because so many people love them together. They love the journey to them in season 3. So it's just like, okay, you treat your fans terribly by killing off the main character, which wouldn't have been as bad if they had given the ship something. So that was very annoying to me. And then, of course, Sarah and Rafe make up, sort of. I mean, I think there's still stuff to come there, but that was my favorite moment, was Sarah and Rafe making up. That was a great moment. And then they bury JJ. He's dead. The ending is Kiara saying we're going to get revenge on Groff because we have Groff has the crown, setting up season 5. So season 5, I'm looking forward to it. I think there's a lot to look forward to. One other detail I need to mention is that I completely skipped over the fact that Rafe proposed to Sophia, and they're engaged, and then he finds out that she was involved in that whole thing of Chandler and Hollis, so he dumps her. What I'm worried about is that they're going to put Rafe and Kiara together, and I really hope they don't do that. I don't see how, after everything that Rafe has done, how that would make any sense. It just wouldn't, and it would just be stupid too. So I really hope they don't do that. I don't really see how they'll survive without JJ. Like, I guess Rafe is taking his place, but we'll see. Next season, I guess it's still going to be them versus Groff. So they shot Lightner, but Dahlia's crew is still alive, so it sounds like they're still going to be in it, which I could care less about. Like, they're like the worst. Again, the worst. I hated it. So yeah, that's season 4 for you. It was not great. I mean, I had a lot of issues with it. I also had a lot of issues with them. How many times they ran from the police was a lot, and it was exhausting. I'm like, and I'm glad they were in the Outer Banks most of the season. This is still better than last season. But part two, especially the last three episodes, were just not good. I'm sorry. The season really dropped off at the end, and it had such potential to go out on such a high. They killed Groff. I would have not even written the JJ's dad plot twist. I think it's stupid. But no, that's part two. Comment down below what you guys thought of part two. Are you excited for season 5? That's kind of it though. So I will see you guys soon. Thanks everyone for listening, and Pogues for life. Bye everyone.